The wheelchair rolled slowly through the doorway of Fort Bragg's briefing room, and a few of the younger operators couldn't hide their confusion. This was Delta Force, the most elite special operations unit in the United States military, and they were about to receive a critical briefing on a high-risk hostage rescue operation in Syria. The man in the wheelchair looked to be in his late 50s, his left leg missing below the knee, his right arm ending at the elbow. He wore a simple polo shirt and jeans. Nothing that identified him as military. But in exactly 3 minutes, every single person in that room would be standing at attention and some would be fighting back tears. Stay with me, because what you're about to hear will give you chills. Major Lisa Chun. The briefing officer stepped forward with a tablet in hand. Gentlemen, this is our tactical consultant for Operation Sandstorm. He has intimate knowledge of the compound layout and the local terrain. Before we begin, please introduce yourself, sir. The man in the wheelchair looked around the room at the hard faces of America's most lethal warriors. His voice was steady, almost casual. My name is David Kowalski. Some of you might know me by my old call sign. Captain Jake Morrison, a 10-year veteran of Delta, leaned forward. It was standard protocol to ask, a way of establishing credibility and building rapport. What was your call sign, sir? The room went completely silent. David paused, and for a moment something flickered in his eyes, a shadow of the warrior he used to be. Titan 3. The effect was instantaneous. Captain Morrison's eyes went wide. 3 operators in the back row stood up so fast their chairs scraped against the floor. Major Chun's tablet slipped from her hands and clattered on the table. The oldest operator in the room, Master Sergeant Williams, who'd seen 23 years of combat, brought his hand up in a salute so crisp it could have cut glass. Titan 3, Williams said, his voice breaking. Sir, we thought you were dead. Now watch what happens next, because this moment will show you what true heroism really looks like. David raised his remaining hand, gesturing for them to sit. The reports of my death were greatly exaggerated, he said with a slight smile, though the pain behind it was evident. Mostly because I spent 14 months in a Taliban prison before the agency got me out. By then, it was easier to let Titan 3 stay dead. The briefing room, typically filled with confident, unshakable warriors, had transformed into something else entirely. These men knew the stories. Every special operator knew about Titan 3, the legend who'd completed 27 classified missions without a single failure. The man who'd personally rescued 43 hostages across 7 countries. The operator who'd held off an entire Taliban assault for 9 hours to protect a downed helicopter crew. Earning a Medal of Honor? That was never publicly acknowledged because the mission didn't officially exist. Captain Morrison spoke, his voice thick with emotion. Sir, the Battle of Kandahar Ridge, 2009, you saved my brother's life. He was in that helicopter. David nodded slowly. Charlie Morrison. Good soldier. How's he doing? He's a teacher now. Has 3 kids? Because of you. The briefing began, and within minutes it became clear why David had been brought in. He didn't just know the compound they were planning to hit, he'd been held prisoner there. He drew detailed layouts from memory, identified guard patterns, revealed hidden weapons caches and escape tunnels that no satellite imagery had detected. He spoke calmly about the torture rooms, the interrogation techniques, the psychological warfare, as if discussing a grocery list. But every operator in that room could see the cost of that knowledge etched into every line of his weathered face. The 3rd floor, northeast corner, David said, pointing at the digital map. That's where they'll keep high-value prisoners. Reinforced door, but there's a ventilation shaft that runs along the outside wall. A small team could breach through there while the main force creates a diversion at the south entrance. The operation planning took 6 hours. David never asked for a break, never showed fatigue, though Major Chun could see the pain medication wearing off as the day progressed. When they finally finished, Captain Morrison approached him privately. Sir, why did you come back? After everything they did to you, why help us? David looked up from his wheelchair, and his eyes held a fire that no prison could extinguish. Because there are 3 American journalists in that compound right now, going through what I went through. And because Titan 3 might have lost his legs and his arm, but he never lost his mission. I couldn't carry a rifle anymore, but I could still save lives. That's what we do. The operation launched 72 hours later. It was a complete success. All 3 hostages were recovered alive, 0 American casualties, exactly as David had planned. When Captain Morrison called to give him the news, David simply said, "Good work," and hung up. He didn't need thanks or recognition. He'd already received the only reward that mattered, knowing that 3 families would get their loved ones back. The story of Titan 3's return spread quietly through the special operations community. Passed in whispers and with reverence, David Kowalski continued consulting on high-risk operations, his wheelchair rolling into briefing rooms where hardened warriors stood in respect, learning from a man who proved that true strength isn't measured by the body you have, but by the heart that refuses to surrender. If this story moved you, if it reminded you that heroes come in many forms and that sacrifice has no expiration date, then please subscribe to this channel. Share this with someone who needs to understand that disability doesn't mean inability, and that the warrior spirit cannot be broken by anything. Because stories like David's, like Titan 3's, need to be told. They need to be remembered. They need to inspire the next generation to understand what service, sacrifice, and unbreakable courage truly mean.